Hey More Than Fades fan, my name is Sierra. I'm a licensed barber out of Oklahoma City and I drop content each week to help barbers grow in our careers. And in today's video, we'll be talking about things you're doing as a barber that could be causing your client's skin irritation. So let's get into it. Now, when I say skin irritation, I'm talking about ingrown hairs, razor bumps, redness, and more or less anything that is directly related to the work you're doing as a barber, not just your normal pimples and so on. That could happen if your client has acne. So the very first thing that you could be doing as a barber that could be causing your client's skin irritation are that your clippers are too sharp. When it comes to clippers, some barbers like to zero gap them, and if your alignment is off or if you're using zero gap clippers on all of your clients all of the time, you can really break some people out. So when I'm talking about zero gapping, I'm referring to the two blades that are on your clippers. So you have a cutting blade and then you have a secondary blade that acts as a guard. So whenever these blades are normally coming out of the box from like walls or Andis or something, there's a slight gap between these two clippers. This is so that whenever you're cutting a client's head, the guard blade hits first, protecting the skin from the cutting blade. Whenever you zero gap your clippers, there is no space between the guard blade and the cutting blade, so they hit the head at the same time, and there's really no barrier between the skin and the cutting blade. Now this can allow you to have a really sharp, clean, bald space whenever you're using this on the head. So if you really want a good bald fade, if you're trying to make sure that your base is really clean, then zero gapping your clippers is perfect. The problem is, different people have different sensitivities to zero gapping, and because there's no actual barrier between the cutting blade really and the skin whenever you zero gap them, sometimes a cutting blade can really wreak havoc on someone's skin. So people that are elderly, if you have children that are your clients, or if you have someone that has curly hair, people in these groups tend to be really susceptible to getting ingrown hairs and skin irritation if you're using zero gap clippers on them. So what I suggest you do is what I do. Have a pair of soft clippers. Soft clippers are clippers that are not zero gap. So something straight out of the box. Maybe you modified the alignment on the clipper blades, but only a little bit, so that you have a little bit of gap between the two blades so that the guard blade can still protect the client's scalp from the cutting blade. So use your soft clippers on anyone you think maybe could break out from using zero gap clippers. And as you learn more about your client's hair, their sensitivity, at that point you can maybe use a sharper clipper or something on them. But just start out with soft clippers and then progressively work towards zero gap clippers. But never just go into someone's head not knowing how the skin's gonna react with something that sharp. The second thing that you as a barber could be doing to cause skin irritation on your clients is that your trimmers are too sharp. Now, even more important than your clippers being too sharp, your trimmers being zero gapped can be extremely damaging to your client's skin, causing them to break out in a whole array of issues if they are too close. Well, cutting too close, that is. So when it comes to trimmers, they can be zero gap just like clippers. The problem is whenever you zero gap your trimmers, they're way sharper than your clippers are. That's because trimmers are more of a precision tool. So you work in small spaces with your trimmers, or you cut really specific hair with your trimmers, and because of that, they're a lot sharper because they're not made to go over the entire head and do bulk work. So if your alignment is off, or you have extremely sharp trimmers on someone's head and they are sensitive, you could definitely hurt them or cause them to break out. I've seen it time and time again. Just like I said, for having soft clippers, I suggest you have a pair of soft trimmers. One of the groups I said earlier that tends to be really susceptible to breakouts are people with curly hair. I have curly hair, and a lot of clients that of course are curly hair on their heads and on their beards, and even down in their neck areas, tend to break out way more often than someone that has straight hair. Whenever you use really sharp tools on someone with curly hair, the tool, depending on if it's a clipper, if it's a trimmer, if it's a foil, if it's a razor, if it's not cutting smooth, the curly hair can be pulled as that tool is cutting it and cut the hair uneven. So now your curly hair, whenever it grows, will curl back into the skin, causing ingrown hairs, or will curl back into the skin, causing pimples or so on. That is because when it's cut and pulled, the tension makes the hair react unnaturally and not grow out from the surface of the skin, but instead curl back into it. So you really want to be careful using really sharp tools on those of us who have curly hair, because it can cause a really dramatic breakout. So what I suggest is not only whenever you have curly hair clients using a soft clipper or a soft trimmer, I would also really ask them, hey, are you prone to getting breakouts? When's the last time you did break out? Does this usually break you out? Those small questions during your consultation can really help you, A, build a better relationship with your client, but B, better serve them and prevent them from having skin problems whenever they walk out of the door. Because it's a horrible, horrible feeling to cut somebody up and they come back a few weeks later and now they have all these scars because you made a mistake. Don't beat yourself up if you've done this before, but try to prevent it in the future by just using a soft trimmer or a soft clipper and asking if their skin is sensitive to really sharp tools like this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you're enjoying the video up to this point. Go ahead and tell me down below what your favorite part of your haircuts are. My personal favorite are the lineups. Just being able to pull it all together with a clean lineup or lineup on the beard just makes everything look complete. It's very satisfying. So go ahead and tell me what your favorite part of your cuts are down below. I'll be down there checking out what you guys have to say. Let's get back into the video. The third thing you're doing as a barber that can be causing skin irritation are that you're using foils on everybody. And when I say foils, I'm talking about shavers, balders. I think it's just a bit regional how everybody calls these. But once again, just like with clippers and trimmers, you really need to be careful with the sharp things that you're using on your clients. Now, when it comes to sharp things, foils, whenever you physically put them on your skin, no, they are not sharp. In fact, they're more or less painless. They should be painless. And there's a sheath, usually tooth sheaths on top of the actual blades to protect your client from getting injured or hurt whenever you're using it on them. But foils cut probably the closest out of clippers, trimmers, and in some cases razors even. So foils can cut really, really close to the skin. And just like we talked about earlier with curly hair, when it's pulled and then cut uneven by a tool, curling back into the skin, it's no different, and in fact a lot worse whenever you have foils. So what I recommend, if you have a client that has curly hair and you really want them to have a really bald fade, or you really want to clean up their neck area, first off, ask them if they usually get foils. Most people will say no, and if they do say no, then just don't be the first person to use them on them. You really want to see how sensitive their skin is, and it's better just to err on the side of caution than it is to whip out something and completely break them out. Secondly, I want to ask them if their skin is really, really sensitive to using to using your foils. Now, if you have someone who's elderly, obviously ask the same thing with kids. But with foils in particular, because of how close they cut, it seems to really, really affect the neck beard area and the nape of the neck whenever you're using them on someone who has curly hair. So please, 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 please don't use foils on everybody. In fact, I had a pair of foils that I just retired because most of my clients are curly headed and I didn't feel like it was necessary for me to continue to use them or upgrade them or buy a whole new set. So if you are considering getting foils, think about the kind of clients that you have or probably will have based on the shop you're in. That is not to say foils are a bad tool. They are excellent and they can get you a super nice clean fade. But you only really want to use them on someone who knows how their skin's going to react. I've seen people who cut almost daily with foils on themselves and they had straight hair and there was no reaction at all. That would wreak havoc on somebody else who has a different hair texture. So just do your mini research on each individual client, see if their skin can take it, use it if you want to use it, but you can probably be fine just using trimmers if you don't have foils or if you have a lot of curly headed clients. So you don't have to spend how much money to buy foils. Number 4, the last thing that you as a barber could be doing that's causing skin irritation is that you're not cleaning your tools. Now, everything else on this list, I can give passes for. I've done them, and it's really just, these are just mistakes you'll make as you learn more about your clippers and your tools and so on. But being dirty is inexcusable. You have got to clean your clippers, your tools, your chair, your everything. You cannot sit up as a barber and be a professional and have a license and possibly be giving people or spreading bacteria, fungi, viruses, illnesses, and diseases, all because you're not cleaning your stuff. Now, make sure you're using your clipper side. Make sure you're using your barber side. Make sure you're wiping off your station. Make sure you're cleaning up your chair. Make sure that you're washing your hands. Please wash your hands. A lot of barbers think that it's not important to, in between cuts or before a cut, go wash their hands. And it is, because you don't know what you're cutting into until you're already in the head. And you cannot see germs, you cannot see these microscopic things that could be plaguing some of our customers or clients. Just try to be as clean as possible. Be hygienic, have a routine, have it be thorough, and don't let anything or one get you off of that. Many barbers are lazy and they won't clean their things and they don't think it's important, but it is. You are an instrumental and very intimate part of someone's hygiene routine. So if by getting their haircut as a client and they come to you and you don't have your stuff together, you could seriously injure them. As my last point, there was someone I knew back in school who he was getting his haircut by his barber, and he felt something strange going on midway through the cut. A couple days later, he found that he was starting to get pustules on his scalp. It concerned him so much that he had to go to a doctor and get a prescription because his barber had given him a yeast infection from not cleaning their clippers. Do not be that barber, and do not allow your clients to be my friend. Okay, so clean your stuff. It does matter and it doesn't take that much time. So I hope that this video was helpful to you guys. We never really want to hurt any of our clients or give them any skin irritants or so on. And like I said, the first 3 things in this video can be prevented just through a couple tweaking things. But the last thing you really have to pay attention to and make sure that you're being clean. So don't forget to check us out in the next video. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.